sorry, I didn't read the title. Tim, I don't have time to put together a speech. Tim, I don't have time to put together a speech. Cynthia Leggett.
Yesterday, I emailed Tim to confirm, Tim, are you still available to be the Toastmaster for the Central North Division contest? And Tim responded, yes, just send me the script. And by the way, when you come tomorrow night, bring a speech. My eyes glazed as I glanced at the screen and said, Tim, I do not have time to put together a speech tonight. Tim, apparently you don't know what's going on in my life right now. I'm through contest season with my area governors. I'm already stressed about that. I still have club visits to make because I have an area governor who's residing in Texas. Oh, let's talk about my workload. It's been switched around. I just came back from a trip from Michigan preparing the week before to train on a session I knew nothing about because the lead person was ill. Not to mention my declining health. Tim, I do not have time to put together a speech. Have you had moments in your life where you just wanted to scream and say, I don't have time for this? Then it dawned on me as I was ranting and raving inside, Tim wouldn't know about that. So why should he care, really? Not that he's a cold-hearted man or anything. The problem wasn't Tim. The problem isn't anybody. The problem is the person with the pink sweater standing in front of me. That's the problem. The problem I've been struggling with for years, and I'm sure many of you may be able to identify, is that there's just too much piled on the plate. And when you get involved in a number of things, I tend to forget, you may not have this problem, but I do, is life still happens. The unexpected still occurs. It's like too many cooks in the kitchen. Do you expect a good meal when you have so many major cooks stirring up stuff in the kitchen, nobody's listening to each other because all of them think they know everything? It's like the time I volunteered when the marathon was going on. They were asking for volunteers to serve the runners, and so a group of us volunteered. No coordination of the volunteers, so all of us are in there. Nobody's committed to one thing. Everybody got in everybody's way. Stuff is burning in the oven. The cook is screaming, what are we doing? But nobody organized. There was too many of us in there. Too much going on. It's like a Toastmasters meeting. I love that pamphlet. Toastmasters wear many hats. You've seen that booklet. We ought to burn that booklet. Unless we mean the Toastmaster can wear many hats because they should be able to do every role, but I don't think the requirement is that they have to do 3 roles in one meeting. Would you agree? When you're doing 3 to 4 roles in one meeting, can you honestly ask yourself, am I really doing each of them well? Or am I doing just enough to get by? When Tim asked me to do this speech, and I went through that struggle of screaming, it only forced me to remember something I'm working through in my life currently. And that's realizing, Cynthia, it's time for you to make the tough choices. Have you ever been in that situation where you know you need to make the tough choices? You need to be honest and say, can't do everything. I can't do everything well. I need to cut some things out. Some of you may know I'm reading through The 7 Habits of Effective People. I'm still on habit 1 and 2, by the way, because I'm really trying to get this concept of commitment down pat. Commitment meaning when you decide to do something, commit to do it, not for the sake of activity, but for results. For results. What I'm learning, if I say no to sitting on the condo board, I'm saying yes to being more effective on the fellowship board. That's true to my heart, helping people in our church who are going through financial problems right now. If I say no to the honor of stepping into a new leadership role at the district, I'm saying yes, I need to spend more time with Dad because his health is not quite the best. And we all need to do what we need to do that. If I say, no, Cynthia, you can't keep functioning in 3 clubs, I have to make the hard decision of saying which club needs to stop so I can fully dedicate to the club I'm going to be in. Thus, I might have avoided that little fight. I don't have time for a speech. If I say no to no, I can't organize this teaching session right now, I'm saying yes to, I'm spending more time in sharpening my skills. I think of Mr. Wilson down the table here, who I've seen coach many speakers. He coaches them well. Yet, he makes sure he sharpens his own saw with his virtual mentors. I have some hard decisions I'm going to be making in the next few months. And I know I'm going to disappoint a lot of people. Do you like disappointing people? Get used to it. It's going to happen. Because saying no to this overcommitted plate that's piling up is saying yes to sanity, yes to better health, yes to putting in time on things I truly feel strong about. I came across this quote today. There's a difference between interest and commitment. When you're interested in doing something, you do it only when the circumstances permit. But when you're committed to something, you accept no excuses, only results. Madam Johnson.
Cynthia, that was an excellent speech. Didn't you sit down and write it? Whew, fantastic. I love the way you compared and you made that analysis. And when you pile those things up on the plate, I mean, people could visualize. Look, don't be piling your plate like that. That's wrong. And then I like how you analyze what happens when you wear many hats. That was very visual. And your body language is great. Keep up the great job.
While you were talking, I was thinking about my own life and my commitments and all the pressure I have in my daily life. And tomorrow, Joan Moore asked me to come to the open house, speaking of leaders. And I was thinking, whether I can make that. So it's very, I can relate to it, and it's a good speech, and I really like it.
Cynthia, I'm really surprised you were able to work that speech up in the shreds of seconds you had between last night and today with your busy schedule. One of the things I thought was very effective was your opening with the anger and frustration of being asked to do yet one more thing, And at first I was perplexed as to why you were going with anger, because my own natural thing would probably be whining, oh, I'm too busy, no, please. But you really supported it by saying, have you ever wanted to scream? I don't have time. And you did a great job, so that explained your anger. I thought that your explanation of the importance of focused commitment from the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People was really, really good. I have a couple of suggestions. One of them was, I think that the intro was longer than it needed to be. I thought that your explanation of the focused commitment was so interesting. Talking about devoting time to one thing means you can't spend time on something else. I really liked the examples you used. I would have liked more of that, and so I could have done with a little less of the terrible life that you lead with too many things. You also had I think a misspoken sentence. You said, can you honestly ask yourself, and really what you wanted to say, honestly, can you answer that blah, blah, blah. And finally, because the meat of your speech was so good, I think a better title would have been something like Say No to Say Yes, or When No Means Yes, because you're saying no to one thing so that you can focus on something else.
Great. Cynthia, fantastic job. Just absolutely fantastic job. And of course, I want to mention I'm very honored you put me in the speech title. I've never been put in a speech title before, and I could get used to this. This is a really nice thing. You were very personal. You know, this really covers what I'm talking about. Talk about something you're passionate about, and you're honest. You're frustrated. You don't have easy answers. You're trying to work through stuff. That comes off as real. The emotions are fabulous. And most importantly, I think, is you use the word you very well. You were a great example connecting with the audience. You're very aware of the audience. You weren't just talking up there, your typical Toastmaster speech. You were sharing yourself, and you wanted other people to be involved in it too. You cared about them as much as you cared about talking about your speech. Internal dialogue. Craig Valentine says they have an internal dialogue when we talk to ourselves. It's also kind of like talking to the audience, because we say things to ourselves, but then the audience is thinking at the same time. So that dialogue, internal dialogue, is great. You may not is great, and I'm going to talk a little bit about one place you didn't use that for suggestions for improvement. Technique. Great technique. You got a technique. Just say no. Pause after the question. I was about to call you on that, but then you did. Nice long pause. Give us a chance to answer the question in our mind. And contrast. No on one side, yes on the other. Thoughts for development. Close. You're a little bit closed up there. I know it's personal, but open up. So you're open to us and we're open to you. You said at one point, I'm sure that you, which is an assumption, and you don't want to do that. You change it later, though, to you may not have this experience, or if you haven't, better to put it as a positive, possible as opposed to a definite. Gestures. Think about you had many cooks in the kitchen. I thought that would be a great place for a gesture. More story. Story should be seen, known, and heard, and it's really about dialogue. Think about some dialogue. You can tell the story back and forth. Dialogue builds conflict. You said we all a couple places. See how we can change that we to you. And think of a stronger conclusion where you really focus on what I call soul. How people will be, how you may be seen differently, what you'll get in terms of time or money, how you'll get a better life, and how you'll have a better process for handling things. And you mentioned that, and we'll all be really eager to figure out how it goes with you, and then they will take that idea too.
And you were able to express yourself more, even though it was to duress. And when you spoke, every word that came out of your mouth gave a vivid image in my head that I can actually see what I was doing incorrectly. I felt as though you were speaking directly to me. You did comparisons. You had ideas that may provoke thought, things to take home from your speech. This is an experience that everyone has. It's stretching yourself too long, too far, too thin. You gave us suggestions how to alleviate that. By saying no to some things, you improve the quality of the other.